I've watched a few YouTube channels that do similar things. Hopefully this is going to come out something like. Right, hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our first video on our brand new channel here. Welcome to the Yorkshire Stinger. So, I'm sure a lot of you by now have probably worked out, judging by the title of the channel and a few of the bits of artwork plastered about the place, what we're going to be doing. But just to confirm, we're going to be taking a look at running a brand new Kia Stinger 3.3 litre GTS here in the UK as a daily driver. So what we're going to be doing essentially is we're going to be taking a look at the car. We're going to be running the car as a daily driver. So I'm going to be trading in this, which we're currently in at the minute. We're currently in a Ford Mondeo Titanium X on a 2015 65 plate car. It was a January 2016 build, fairly late registration, and yeah, this is going to make way for the Stinger. And of course we're going from a 2 litre diesel to a 3.3 litre petrol V6, so that's going to be quite interesting, I think. So for those of you who don't really know the UK all that well, our taxation, you know, our car tax and our fuel tax is really quite absurd, and we've got some of the highest petrol prices in Europe. So if you're not from around these parts, it's a bit of a strange choice to make. So we're going to see just how we do and how we get on. So for those of you who are interested in maybe owning one of these cars yourself, this should be quite interesting. You know, we're talking about a UK perspective on the car. Most of the videos on YouTube currently are from the US. Of course, gas prices in the US, although any US viewers might think otherwise, but comparatively to the UK, US gas prices are incredibly low. So if you're looking for a UK perspective on the car and what it's like to run day to day, then you've come to the right place, and we're going to find out. So if I end up poor, destitute and on the bones of my backside, then you'll be likely to hear about it on here. But hopefully that's not going to happen. So as this is the introduction, we're going to be finding out a few things. Like I said, the daily running costs, what we do to the car, if we do any modifications to it. I've got a couple of things I'd like to do to it going forward. We're also going to be taking a look at things like your daily sort of running costs as far as petrol goes, tyres, any issues we have with the car, any faults, and of course ultimately what it's like to drive. So seeing as this is an introduction, it feels only right that we cover why I chose a Stinger. And I'm sure that's a question that a lot of people are probably wondering, because here in the UK, and it's probably the same to be said for most places, to be honest, but a lot of places here in the UK, people generally tend to find that they are very brand orientated. They say that a vehicle that you drive, the brand and the model, says a lot about you. It says a lot about where you're going, where your aspirations lie, and ultimately how well you're doing. So for example, I was one of the few lucky people in this country to own a Peugeot RCZ as opposed to an Audi TT. And I suppose I've always had something for the quirky choice of vehicle, shall we say. So the Peugeot RCZ was certainly the quirkiest I've had up to now, but for me, and probably for anybody who's actually driven the RCZ, as opposed to the Audi TT, for me it was a far superior car. It was much nicer to drive, the build quality was excellent. Of course, it wasn't actually built by Peugeot, it was built by a specialist small manufacturer in Magnus Steyr, who have built several Aston Martins and Mercedes G-Wagons and things of that nature. So they tend to know what they're doing. So it was a specialist low volume car, and it didn't sell that well in the UK. In fact, I'm not really sure it sold very well anywhere, to be honest with you, which was a shame, because the TT may have given it a mulling in the sales rankings in this country, and a lot of that was down to the badge, because anybody who'd actually driven the thing would have plummeted for the RCZ, I'm fairly sure. So it was a bit of an unfortunate one, and I really did like that car, and I kind of wish I'd never sold it in the end, because I sold it for a 2015 Mercedes C-Class AMG line with a Premium Plus pack, and it was the worst car I've ever had. bar none. I've had one that was very close, but it was nowhere near the value of the Mercedes. It was nearly £40,000 car, and it fell to pieces. It practically spent more time in the garage, in the dealerships, than it did up my driveway. After 18 months, I couldn't take it anymore, and I sold it. And since then, I've had a Ford Focus ST3 2-litre TDCi, which again is quite a rare car in the UK to find that trim level with that engine. I had that for 10 months, just after the birth of my first daughter, and it was a lovely car. It just wasn't big enough, so by the time we got the pram in the boot, couldn't get anything else in there, so I needed something a little bit bigger, which led to me upgrading it to this thing we've got now. And it's a lovely car, and I do like it, and it's alright to drive, but it's not the most exciting thing in the world. It's a Mondeo. So I toyed for a while with the idea of maybe getting something a little bit fun for the weekend. So maybe something like a used Porsche Boxster or a Mazda MX-5, and doing some crazy stuff to it, like maybe sticking a V6 under the hood. Just crazy things went through my head. And then when I actually thought about it, it was like, well, I could do that. But ultimately, you know, you're still stuck with a relatively aging platform. You're stuck with 2 lots of running costs, so 2 lots of tyres, 2 lots of MOTs, 2 lots of insurance, 2 lots of tax, 2 lots of petrol, and it's just like, and I haven't got anywhere to keep the thing, even if I wanted to do that. So I've got my car, the wife's got hers, and where else could I possibly put anything else? I can't. So, you know, when looking at the sort of like realistic options, if I wanted something a little bit fun, I needed something else. I needed something practical for the family, but I also needed something that was going to be fun to drive and was going to keep me entertained when I'm on my own, for example. So it needed to blend the two. So the obvious choice is, you know, like I say, people in this country are very brand oriented. So a lot of people would go for an Audi S5 or a Mercedes C-Class AMG. Bearing in mind I've already had a C-Class and I'd never touch another one with a barge pole, so that one was out. You know, I've got a Ford, so maybe something like a Mustang, but again, the practicality is not really there. So it kind of came down to a few things, and I'd been following the Stinger for a while, and if you remember, I said I liked the quirky, and the RCZ certainly was quirky, but for all the good reasons. And the Stinger kind of appeals to me on that same level. It appeals to me because it's a left-of-field choice. The RCZ for Peugeot was something that the brand had never previously attempted before. It was something that the brand aspired to. It wanted to become. It wanted to produce a car that made you sit up and take notice of it and realise that the game had moved on and that they'd moved on themselves. And they wanted to compete with the premium brands, and they actually had some brand inspiration, some brand aspiration, should I say. And ultimately that's what they wanted to do. And I respected that, and ultimately when you look at it on merit against stuff like the Audi TT, you see that, by God, they actually achieved it. But unfortunately people didn't take it seriously. And that's a big shame, because you actually look at some of Peugeot's recent products along the lines of, you know, sorry, some idiots just driving past there. But you look at it along the lines of stuff like the new 3008, 5008, you realise that, wow, they really have moved their game on, and they are sort of like being taken really seriously against the more premium brands in those SUV sectors, which are really competitive in this country, which is great to see. And I think the Stinger is the same sort of thing for Kia as what the RCZ signalled for Peugeot. It's like that halo car, it's that aspirational thing. Kia's always been a budget brand. It's always been a brand that has produced cheap, reliable, but not particularly exciting cars up to now. But you look at what they've produced in the last 10 years and how far they've come along, and now they're wanting to move themselves forward. Now they're wanting to exploit the market they've not previously been in. They're wanting to take on the likes of BMW, Audi, Mercedes at their own game. And by God, they're not playing at it. You know, you've got to look at the Stinger and say that they've done a fantastic job. It looks amazing. Compared, sat aside a BMW 4 Series, for example, the thing looks incredible. And they're not playing at this. You know, they've managed to coax away somebody, you know, of the ilk of Pete Schreier to design the thing. Of course, formerly of Audi fame. And then, just when you think, yeah, but it's all style and no substance, You get somebody like Albert Beerman, poached from BMW M division, of course, where he was head of the damn thing, to come and do your chassis. And when I drove it on the test drive, I couldn't believe how good it was. Bearing in mind I'd spent time with the Mercedes, and I'd actually spent some time driving it, I couldn't actually quite believe how good it was. Stacked up against that car, I mean, the car felt good. It was rubbish, was the Merc, but it still felt nice. It still felt premium. To drive, it was fantastic. All right, it fell to pieces and it wasn't particularly well screwed together. But as far as the car goes, as far as it going and stopping and handling and everything else, as far as the functions of cargo, it was fantastic. And the Stinger felt every bit as good. And the Stinger felt every bit as assured and planted and as much of a premium product out on the road as what the Mercedes did, which was quite incredible. So I went from actually sort of following it to really, really wanting one in the space of a test drive. And I'd been following the Stinger for a long time. I mean, I used to sort of be an avid reader of Auto Express. Every week I would read it. And I remember when the 2011 Frankfurt Motor Show came along, and there was a big sort of section in there about all the new cars, and this thing from Kia, the GT concept, had been unveiled, and it was like, wow, that looks incredible. That looks really good. And of course, the rumours were very much like the RCZ at the time when that was unveiled as a concept at a motor show. The rumours were that the thing was going to see the light of day. And just by looking at it, I knew I wanted it. I needed that thing in my life. And sure enough, when it came out, I got one. And the same could be said for the Stinger. I saw it, and when the rumours were, this thing's going to see the light of day, I didn't care how much it was. I didn't care how long it was going to take. I just knew I needed one. I needed one in my life. And it's taken 7 years. But as I followed the stories in the press and everything else, and you sort of see the concept take shape to production reality, it's an amazing transformation. And it's amazing the car's kept so much of its soul, so much of what made it incredible then makes it just as incredible now. And so I followed it and I followed it and I followed it, and I just fell in love with it. And like I said, you know, as soon as the option to stick my email address in for some updates from Kia.com came in, you mark my word, I did it. And you know, I went for my test drive and I was hooked. So we ended up getting a deal in principle through an internet broker on one, and that's ultimately now what we're waiting for. So we're going to be having the Mondeo for another couple of weeks. The delivery for the new Stinger is touted to be mid-April. The car is in the country. It's in port at the moment. I'm not sure if it's moved yet, but we'll go through the deal a little bit more in another video. More is there to be said about the deal, because it came this close. It came within a gnat's whisker of me actually walking away. It's been far from the easiest deal I've ever done on a car. In fact, it's been the hardest deal I've ever done on a car. It's been up and down. We've had some trials and tribulations to get this far. I think it deserves its own video before it gets here. So for those of you interested in this car, obviously I'd like to document it at the end of its time with me. I'd like to sort of like go over what I like about this car. There's a lot to like about the Mondeo, and there's a little bit to dislike about it as well. So we'll go over that. If you're interested in this car, we'll go over it with a fine-tooth comb before the new one gets here. We've got a couple of weeks. So we've got a few things to do to this before then, and obviously with a few things to do in preparation for the new one. And then when the new one gets here, of course, we're going to film handover day. We'll do a day's shooting on that. That's something to look forward to. Obviously, we wouldn't miss that for the world. And then, like I said, we're going to be into the daily running of it here from a UK perspective. And I'm not expecting this thing to be cheap. I'm expecting this thing to sort of take a kidney and a lung. But it's worth it, right? You don't buy these things to watch the cost of them. So I'm really looking forward to getting hold of the car now. And yeah, so I figure that's probably a decent introduction. It gives you a quick background as to what we're in at the moment, what we're going to be in the future. I'll keep the colour choice to myself for now, and we'll surprise you with that one on the big reveal. But yeah, for now, thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you have, please stick a like below. And obviously, if you're going to be interested going forward in the things we've got to cover, then feel free to subscribe to the channel. That would be awesome. And if you want to be updated as and when those new videos go up, just hit that little bell icon next to the subscribe button, and you'll be informed as and when the new videos that we bring out come up. I guarantee you there's going to be a lot to like and a lot to look forward to on this channel, so give me a follow, and that'll be ace. So of course, if you've any questions about this car, about the Mondeo, about the Stinger and what I know about it so far, anything else about my car history, anything like that, we might cover that in another video. I've had quite a few cars, so I don't mind going over that. Like I say, you know, we'll fill our time over the next couple of weeks with some more information, so you get to know a little bit about me and my car history. And yeah, so thanks for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. Hopefully this video comes out okay, because although I've got another YouTube channel, feel free to check it out if you're interested in technology repairs. The link's in the description below for that one. I've never actually done anything in a car or moving footage or anything like that, so I have no idea if this works or not. This is I'm purely winging it at this point. So I've watched a few YouTube channels that do similar things. Hopefully this is going to come out something like. So thanks for watching, hope you've enjoyed it. Feel free to hit a like, hit the subscribe button, drop me a comment, and I'll see you on the next video in the next couple of days. So from me, thanks for watching, and bye for now.